everyone. We would start in another 30 seconds. We're waiting for everyone to join. Thank you so much. Edition of Payoneer webinars. Today we're going to be talking about simplify shipping cargo across MENA. We will be doing this webinar in conjunction with our esteemed partner Palletpal. PallePal, I would have loved to introduce PallePal in detail, but we have a better person who can do so. So without further ado, I would like to pass on the stage to the CEO of PalletPal, Mr. Adil Hamvi. Adil, over to you.
Thank you, Shaival. Thank you. I don't think anyone could have introduced PallePal better than you, but I will take the opportunity. We are PallePal. My name is Adil. I'm the CEO at PallePal. I'll be running you through a little bit about what PallePal does today. Very excited for Payoneer to allow us for Payoneer to give us the opportunity to tell you what we're all about, and I hope that at least one of you finds it entertaining, one, and two, informative. So thank you all for attending, and we'll jump right in. So like I said, PallePal is a digital freight solution. What we do is we support organizations across the Middle East procure and monitor their cross-border freight shipments. PallePal is really on its way to making shipping, and in particular cargo shipping, as quick and as easy as booking a flight. So again, just introducing a little bit about what we do. PallePal is MENA's next-gen digital freight forwarder. What we are is, again, supporting organizations and enabling them to save time and save money. Most importantly, save them a million headaches. So as important time and money is, we really want to take away every single headache from you as possible. Over the past year or so since we've launched, we have been featured in a number of different places, including some of the papers you see on the screen, Entrepreneur, Wanda, Zawiya, and whatnot, and we've onboarded a huge number of customers. We've been backed by the Draper Associates, which is an investment arm in the US, and Google, who have supported us in kind of taking PallePal forward, both in capital and effort, of course, time. We're also very thankful for a huge number of partners on board, both carriers and freight forwarders, for air and sea. Some of the biggest around the world have all decided to jump on and support PallePal at the moment. So very excited to have them all. Very excited to tell you a little bit more. At PallePal, we really wanted to focus on solving the problems that many typical forwarders will face, or many typical customers like yourselves will face today. So if you think about, what is your typical process for procuring a quotation today, you're spending probably way too long sending multiple emails, multiple phone calls, multiple messages and whatnot. If you walk into a freight forwarder's office today, you'll still see a fax machine in the corner. I seem to just have something open on my screen. 1 second. So yeah, you'll be sending way too many emails and phone calls. Can everyone still see my screen? Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, great. So yeah, typically, you're stuck in these lengthy and manual and archaic processes that exist in procuring services, in particular today for organizations such as yours. You're using traditional communication methods, which entails a huge amount of information that is essentially trapped in your emails and in your phone calls and your messages. Think about it this way: if I ask you for an invoice or a packing list or some sort of document associated with a shipment from a year ago, the only thing you're going to do to me is you're going to pull out your phone and you're going to scroll as far back in your email until you get to a point where you're like, okay, I found it, and then you're going to show it to me. Well, that is your information trapped in your emails. That is not allowing you to assess the information that is really going to push you towards making better decisions and eventually, obviously, grow your organization, which is what we all want to do. We also wanted to tackle, the real fragmentation that exists in a supply chain. Typically, you're speaking to 10, 15 different stakeholders on your journey to shipping. And we thought, okay, well, this is what happens today. Why would we keep it that way? It's definitely not supporting you as a shipper in moving your goods, and it's causing a huge number of headaches. And this was kind of a major issue for a huge number of organizations across the GCC and across MENA. A majority of them said their biggest headache was the operations and moving their goods across borders. So, PallePal solves that. PallePal is a completely free, a complete all-in-one digital freight solution that allows you to schedule and book and monitor your freight shipments. So what we do is we, again, provide you this free solution. It'll connect you to a huge number of organizations, both freight forwarders and carriers. We are not simply a marketplace where we connect you with different organizations. We are the freight forwarders ourselves, but we also have this transparency in allowing you to connect with both forwarders and carriers. Why? So we can get the most competitive price. What do we all care about at the end of the day? Saving money, reliability, and throw it in there as well, your credit terms, which is something we do. They're very flexible. We provide you credit terms as well. We provide you the bells and whistles, whether that's a data fuel dashboard, your ability to track and trace, all your shipments on one map. Now, I didn't think that was big, but think about it this way. As a consumer or as a business, you've probably tried to track something that has come via DHL or Aramex or FedEx, and you've probably taken that code, that tracking code, and you've put it into the system, and you've seen that one shipment. Now, how annoying is that when you're a business and you have 5 shipments at once and you have to copy and paste it many times? So what we've done is really kind of aggregated all that into a single map, whether it's air or sea. You can see all your shipments and all the statuses all in one place. Of course, the dashboard is supposed to give you information that'll support you in making better decisions. Most importantly, we really want to be your proactive partners with a number of different touch points. With a real human to speak to. A lot of the times you'll get a digital platform like PallePal, and they'll tell you, go ahead, we'll throw you to the side and figure it out through a digital platform, kind of go through 7 pages before you find a customer service phone number. No, we're very straightforward. You can communicate directly with us and all the other stakeholders directly on the platform. We also throw in some value-added services like insurance, like customs clearance, and soon to come trade finance. Just to touch upon that a little bit, I know you've already probably picked up on all the services we provide, but just as a run through, we do sea freight, air freight, and land freight. The sea freight can be either full container or less than container loads. We run proprietary algorithms within the system and automate the method by which we take less than container loads, aggregate that volume to provide you the most competitive price. We do that by focusing on priority trade lanes, although China to the UAE and China to KSA is very much our priority lane. We are able to provide you other trade lane services. We are automating each one step by step. Air freight and land freight as well, of course. We provide you customs clearance and insurance. And in May, very excited, we'll be launching trade finance. Trade finance will be huge with us. For us, we'll be hopefully communicating and talking more with Payoneer to see how they can support us with trade finance as well. After they support you guys, I hope all of you guys. And we also support importer on record services for the UAE. We can be that consignor on your behalf. Warehousing, distribution, and fulfillment is done through our very strong partnerships that we've made over the past few years in solidifying kind of the best possible service. Now, how does it all work, right? Spoken a lot, all nice words, making your lives much easier, but how does it really work? Well, you come onto PallePal, you create an account, and you sign up. And it takes about 3 minutes to go through a full onboarding process. Once you're in, you'll be able to create a new shipment request. When you create a new shipment request, you're simply giving us the minimum amount of information we need in order to procure quotations for you. Now, these quotations will be provided to you over the next 48 hours. They're not provided to you instantly. And the reason that is because we have a auction-like process in the back end for logistics providers. Think about it this way. If you ever used eBay, you've probably been someone who have bid for products, trying to get the product at the best possible price that fits you. Now what we've done is we've created this auction-like process for logistics providers. They will bid based on their services, their best price, and we will show them all to you, whether it's the best price, the most expensive, the shortest, the longest transit time. And we also include all of the line items. And very importantly, we include carbon emissions because we know a lot of our customers care about that very dearly, very dearly. PallePal is working towards supporting all the specific SDG goals in that regard. So it is very important to us that we show our carbon emissions. Now, at selection of that quotation, you'll be able to select from credit terms. You'll be assigned an account manager. We will handle your whole shipment from A to Z. We will be your sole point of contact. There is no need for you to have to speak to now 10 or 15 different people along the supply chain when really you can speak just to PallePal. We will handle it all for you. It's basically like you are outsourcing your shipment to us, to PallePal. Now, once you compare and select, your shipment's on the go, your account manager will be in touch. You can use your dashboard to assess where all your shipments are, all again in the same place. You can see your return on investment, your value of cargo versus the spend. We also provide you with kind of some consulting tips. For example, we had some customers who shipped, hundreds of shipments a year, very small shipments. We then figure out a plan for them to ship much larger shipments, fewer times a year, and save them a huge amount of money over a great period of time. So you'll also be able to see kind of the status updates, get notifications, and you can communicate directly with your stakeholders. Now, just to sum that all up, what that really is a huge reduction in your turnaround time. We had customers that used to spend 2 to 3 weeks to procure a quote, negotiate a quote, follow up on a quote, put it all together. Now that's done in a max of 48 hours. You have multiple quotations, and after those quotations, you have the key proactive account managers that'll support you at every step, freeing up that operating expenditure, right? That you used to be held onto for 2 weeks can now be provided in just 48 hours. You're freeing up the team's time and your resources' time to be able to do other things. Giving you access to information is really important in key business decisions, and visibility, of course, so you can manage not only your expectations, but your customers' expectations as well. If you have a delivery that needs to be made of some sort, you can manage their expectations by seeing exactly where their product is on the map. Just a little bit of, some of our favorite customers who have shipped now many times with us. Talida Coffee ships regularly to KSA, Projeto SA, regularly from Brazil to the UAE. So we do cover lots of different areas. Our customers are really happy with us. They've all referred others, have returned, and we are now kind of their sole logistics providers. And who knows, your logo might be here next. And yeah, that is a little bit about PallePal. If you have any specific questions, I'll be happy to answer them in the Q&A. My email is on the screen. You're, of course, welcome to email me directly. And if you have any specific questions, you can also email Maya on our team, who is responsible for customer success. So that is, PallePal, and I'm going to throw it back at Sheval, who's going to continue with a little bit on Payoneer, and then we're going to jump into a Q&A.
Thank you so much, Adil. I think it sets a great baseline for our viewers or our listeners to send in their questions. Right. There are a bunch of questions which at least I had received before the event, regarding how people can ship in easily from China, what all are the best procurement practices about, what a person should look at before finalizing their procurement practices, etc. So we'll dive into those post Payoneer's presentation, which I'll take all of you through. I'll try and be very brief. And any questions that you all may have for Payoneer as well, please put it in the chat box or the Q&A, and we'll be taking those questions at the end of the presentation. With that, please allow me to share my screen. All right. Adil, could you just give me a quick thumbs up if you can see it? All right. Cool. So Payoneer, right? So for the uninitiated people who don't know Payoneer at all, I'll just give you a brief. We're a cross-border payments platform for businesses and professionals. So in a nutshell, if someone were to define Payoneer, that is who we are. We've been operating for almost 16 years now across 25 offices, but presence across all 190 countries. almost 2,000 employees, right? Where we drive our strengths from is twofold. One is we are a fully regulated entity in all financial markets of the world, so including every state in the United States, all countries in Europe, UK, Singapore, Hong Kong, you name it, right? Wherever we don't have the licenses, we work with the most reputed banks. We have almost 140 plus bank partners across the world. These are licensing coupled with our bank partnerships allows us to move money for businesses freely across the world. The second thing is we already have the right pedigree. We've been doing this for 16 years. We have worldwide presence and prevalence. We almost moved $60 billion per annum. We're serving more than 5 million customers. Like I said, you can name the number of languages and currencies we operate in. So it's a very fungible and a very globally acceptable solution for cross-border payments. Now, typically, what are the various challenges which we've seen business-to-business payments face, or businesses who want to collect or send payments overseas face? First and foremost is the lack of foreign infrastructure to launch the business worldwide. So whenever you would have seen, if you want to collect your payments from overseas or send your payment overseas, your two options are either go to a bank, which will charge you almost for 2 to 4% of your transaction value, or you would, and that is if the bank allows you to even move the money. Before that, collecting money internationally, you will not, you would have to set up a small entity to ensure that you have a bank account if you were to collect your money, let's say in the US, Europe, etc. All these again start becoming hassles, or you would have a multi-currency account with a bank, which again is not something which every business can easily get from a bank, either in the GCC or anywhere in the world. Second is traditional payment methods for payment collection. So if you look at it, currently people only work with bank payments. There is no other method where people can easily pay for business payments. So credit cards have limits to it. There is no other e-wallet that will allow you to pay this. So something is required right in between, which couples the volume and the reliability of banks with the convenience and speed and swiftness of the new age payment techniques, including cards, QR codes, e-wallets, etc. Moving further, if you were to make these international payments, again, the problem is multifold. You have to make multiple payments through different bank accounts. It again hinders your overall payment process, that it's decentralized. You have to invest a lot in your financial workforces to even reconcile all your payments, what comes in, what goes out, etc. So the international payments remain a challenge, not only from a reconciliation aspect, but also from a payment operations, right? Limited transaction capabilities. Again, high SLA. So this is a problem which I think all of us have faced. Some banks have certain kind of limits on currencies, certain limits on the amount you can send. There is very non-transparent FX that always gets charged, which people just accept, right? You never question a bank as to why it's charged you a certain FX. You just accept it and move on, and next time hope that the bank charges you less, and so on and so forth. Compliance, regulatory, and risk management. So again, banks are good at all that, but the time and money charged is too much. So what do? You go back to apps, or you go back to tech products. Now, tech products are new. They could be fly by night. You've seen a lot of examples. So where is the right mix of trust and safety? It's with a company like ours who's been working at it for almost 16, 17 years. We have our own banking licenses. We are a bank in multiple jurisdictions. So we sit right in between, or in that Goldilocks zone of having the right ability in terms of compliance, regulatory, and risk, and at the same time, the agility in terms of tech, convenience, etc. And last but not the least, like I said, our tech allows us to become integrated with your ERP solutions, with your TMS, with your WMS accounting, etc., which allows you to knit together a complete ecosystem of payments within your existing paraphernalia of tech. You don't have to do a separate payment paraphernalia as well, right? You're handling multiple tools. Any SaaS tool on CRM is one whole bit, then ERP one another bit. So we don't want to add one more SaaS to your ecosystem. We try and assimilate or stitch into your existing tech, right? So having said that, how does Payoneer address these challenges? Let me just take you through that. Our key features, and I'll just keep it very brief. Our biggest feature is the ability to issue virtual accounts to our users. So whether you're a professional consultant or etc., or a business for which is service export or goods export or any sort of business which requires cross-border payments, we have the ability to offer you collection accounts in top 10 trade currencies of the world, right? Which basically allow you to collect funds as if you had local bank accounts in those currencies in those countries, right? On top of this, we have a global USD account which allows you to collect dollars from anywhere in the world. So this offering allows you to collect money from anywhere in the world in multiple currencies while you're sitting at your office and viewing all that on a single dashboard, right? So this basically saves your hassle of having multiple accounts in multiple places or trying to get one bank to open multiple currency accounts for you, etc., etc. You get everything sitting in one place without having to do all the paperwork and the headache that you would have to do otherwise. Why is it superior to wire? Like I said, banks actually send funds each time you want. The money actually moves each time a bank payment happens. With Payoneer, what we do is we have liquidity pools maintained with all banks across the world, or with most banks across the world in all countries. So when you press payments or when you want to withdraw money, it is not that the money is actually moving. We are in the business of moving information. So we will relay the information to our bank partners, who then make those local payments in your countries, which not only make it fast, but also more cost effective and at the same time reliable, because they come to you within the same day. So yeah, of course. So this is the basic, or this is the bread and butter solution for business to business that we offer. Apart from that, there is a billing solution. So a lot of businesses don't have any other way to collect money apart from just invoices. And bank details. We offer an ability for you to raise payment links to your customers, where they can not only pay you through banks, but also have the ability to pay you through cards for business transactions, which are for larger business transactions, which typically are not is something which is not happening in B2B space, especially goods or services exported in bulk. Again, we are a 3D compliant payment link. All cards are accepted, and of course we have to be cost effective. So these are certain things which we offer to our business to business clients in terms of not only the ability to collect payment from anywhere in the world through normal bank transfers, but additionally allowing them to collect payments also through card transfers. This is one of our large customers in the Middle East. It's a large publishing house called Speakall. So we've offered them ability to not only collect their payments, but also pay them in bulk through mass payout APIs. Typically, this solution is also used by other larger digital clients that we have across the world, such as eBay, Amazon, Upwork, Fiverr, etc. These are some of the brands who we work with across various verticals. As you can see, our use cases are numerous, and each of these utilize multiple payment products that we have to offer. So just to conclude, if no one has heard anything so far and would like to probably pay attention for the last 2 minutes, this is in a nutshell what Payoneer does. On the left, we've explained how you can collect your funds. On the right, we've explained where you can spend or send your funds, right? So you can collect your funds from your typical B2B clients using wire, banks, or international transfers. You can ask your customers to make payments as if they were local payments. because we give you local bank accounts in most countries. You can directly collect funds from marketplaces if you want to. If you're selling on various e-commerce marketplaces, like I explained, you can raise a payment link, and you can also connect your existing gateways or processors to Payoneer all in one place. Once you collect the funds, you can manage those funds all from a single place. Exchange currencies within your Payoneer account, so you can use whichever currency you want to. And finally, when you want to pay or spend the currencies, you can make payments to your suppliers all across the world in 119 countries in their local currencies to their local bank account. You can pay VAT, use the balance of Payoneer through your own card. So we have a physical and a virtual card, which is a MasterCard. So it's a global debit card. You can spend it on point of sale, ATM, or online gateways. You can finally withdraw funds to your own bank account, spend for Facebook, Google ads, or pay your service providers, suppliers, anywhere in the ecosystem, to ensure that you have centralized control of all your payments for all businesses anywhere in the world. So you collect from anywhere and you send anywhere in the world, all while sitting at your office in your home country. So with this, I would like to thank you all for your patience. And like I said, please post your questions in the chat box and the Q&A, which I'll be happy to answer myself and also take up with others.
All right. Thank you, Shiva. I must say that PallePal uses Payoneer as well. I didn't see our logo up there, so next time
I'd do that. I think these are this may be slightly dated. I would make that change right away. All right. On that note, let us dive into the Q&A. So before we take individual questions, Adil, a couple of things which I had, couple of questions I received from users even before the webinar could start, was shipping cargo from China to MENA. Any high level, comments on the best practices, or what's the benchmarked way to do that, or any finer nuances which you want to share with the listeners today?
It's funny you asked this, because we have a blog on Palletpal, and I'm gonna put a link to that in the chat. You can read it whenever you guys have time, whoever asked that question, but it is mainly about many of the similar things you would find with other trade lanes. Yes, now there is a lot more difficulties because we are in such a tight market where capacity is difficult, where we're now, even PallePal is facing challenges with closures or lockdowns at ports in China. But the real thing is, firstly, pricing. Pricing can be so ambiguous when you're talking about a routing from China. For example, we have one provider who will bid us for a 40-foot container, $6,000, for example, another one who will come in at $10,000. Well, who do you know who to trust, right? Because it's like you're having all these options and there's so many providers in the market. Each one is out there to fill their own pocket, and pricing can be the most difficult. So it is very ambiguous. PallePal tries to tackle this by having technology negotiate against, or using technology to negotiate against each other in our auction-like process, right? Not only does it help our customers, but it also helps forwarders and carriers, whether you're Hapag Lloyd CMA or you're one of our freight forwarders like Trident or Crystal Cargo. These are all kind of, they're negotiating against each other for the best price. So pricing is extremely important. You want to maximize on volume while you do pricing as well. I spoke about an example with one of our customers who used to ship, for example, 10 times a month, now ships twice a month, but saves so much more money doing bulk shipments. Plan far ahead. Now more important than ever, shipping from China, plan far ahead. You've got a huge number of people trying to fight for the little capacity that exists. Before the pandemic, freight used to be so much more of an open market, and now we had so many more containers, or even equal number of containers, but there just wasn't as much demand. We've seen a huge push in demand, and that has really forced people to plan as early as possible. You want to be able to select exactly from where your products should come. China is huge. It could be that you drive a little bit further in inland transportation, but be able to put yourself on a vessel that may leave sooner or may ensure capacity. Maybe you're at a port that does not have common rollovers, which is also something our system looks at. It automates in our selection when doing that. So we take all of these into consideration because China is our priority lane, Cheval, whether it's coming to the UAE or KSA. We try our best to automate as much of that procurement as possible. We can't make a vessel go faster. We can't make a plane fly quicker. What we can do is really push on that procurement before, whether it's putting the quote together, clearance, avoiding rollovers, ensuring space, or post-delivery, post-arrival at destination port. Again, clearance, inland transportation, etc. We try and really tackle those two ends because we can't make a boat go any quicker or a plane fly any faster.
Understood. I totally agree. I mean, I think the actual problem case is at the ends, because everything lies on the goods getting onto the vessel. Right?
Yeah.
All the hassle is pre and post the vessel.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think that way. Perfect. Couple of questions, Adil, were on whether so someone was asking about imports from Iran. I mean, not only that, would you want to throw some light on if there are any restricted geographies or overall in this space, if someone wants to import to UAE or Saudi, what all geographies do you excel in, number one, and number two, what are debarred completely?
Right. So I wouldn't say we block out anything completely at the moment. It is really on a case-by-case basis, simply because for 1 week we might have a block on one place in the world, and then the next week it's open and there's a block on somewhere else. So I would urge, if you have a request, put it in, and then we will check with our partners the most updated laws, the most updated kind of blockades that might exist or not exist at that certain point in time. Where we really excel in, I would be honest, is China, Europe, and the US. And we're now really pushing on our African imports as well. But China, Europe, and the US, whether sea or air, is somewhere we really, really excel. China is, again, our priority lane because it's the busiest. It's like we were forced to make that our most automated lane. Because it's so lucrative, there's so many people shipping on it. We're seeing, just to Jabal Ali, not even another ports in the UAE, not even KSA, we're seeing around nearly 5 million 20-foot equivalent containers come in every year. So just imagine the amount that could be shipped. But China is very much our go-to. I saw that question on Iran. I think it was in the chat, I believe, or was it in the Q&A?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Again, we'll put in a request. I can actually have someone double check that immediately after this. And you're welcome to email me directly, and I will personally check on it for you.
Perfect. And Adil, just a small follow-up on this. So these shipments are mostly inbound to Middle East. Do you also do outbound from Middle East to other countries? And if yes, what would be your top few corridors for our listeners to reach out to you?
Yeah, see, the thing is, we naturally live in the part of the world where everything is imported. Over 90% of their foods are imported. Everything kind of around you is imported, not because it's, we can't make it here, but everyone wants to save money and it's cheaper to make it somewhere else. Or you have kind of specialty goods coming from different parts of the world, since we are in such a cultural hub pot in the UAE and in the GCC. So we obviously do importing a lot more than we do exporting, but we do export locally in the GCC. That is something we do a lot, because what people typically do is they'll bring all their goods from Europe or the US or China or Africa into the UAE or into KSA, and then we support them with distribution to other warehouses in the GCC and in MENA, or even just moving from Jeddah to Riyadh or Jeddah to Dammam or Dubai to Riyadh. It is also considered kind of a massive transportation request. We do export as well. We have a company that makes specific kinds of rugs. We have a company that makes lamps. They ship kind of these cultural things to the US and to Europe. So it is something we do. Again, we're lucky enough to be able to have such a huge network of providers and partners, and our operations team that works directly with carriers and creating the best possible partnerships. We promise kind of huge capacities to these partners that we have in order to get the most competitive price, and we promise both imports and exports.
Understood. Perfect. And there are a couple of questions about Payoneer, which I would like to take myself so that we keep the ball rolling. Is it safe to maintain balance permanently in Payoneer? Yes, of course. A lot of people do that. Anyone who wants to accept money into their Payoneer account can keep it for as long as they want to, unless your regulator or the central bank mandates that any funds that you accept need to come back to your bank account. For listeners or for our viewers in Middle East, there is no bank which mandates that you have to take out your money from Payoneer and put it into your bank account. So you can keep it for as long as you want to in your Payoneer account and spend as and when you like. There was another question around any charges for receiving payments from customers in USA. Of course, that's our bread and butter business, but these can be looked at from case to case. If it's a standard bank transfer coming in, there aren't any charges. But if it's a card transfer which is coming in, yes, there will be charges attached to it. Happy to discuss them case by case. Apart from that, is there there was one other question which I wanted to address before I come back to you, Adil. Okay, so this was around. I think it's a redundant one. We've already taken that question. Okay, so Adil, there are a couple of questions around. Do you do the complete value chain? So do you do warehousing and transporting as well? So if there is a kind of a DDP service where or direct to the factory or to the gate of the factory, is that something which you offer at the moment? And if yes, in which geographies?
Yeah, so typically in the UAE and KSA, again, since that's really our home right now, we are based in Dubai. I think someone asked me that earlier. I never actually answered. We are based in Dubai. We do have a small ops team in KSA, but the majority of our headquarters is in Dubai. So yeah, we can do any kind of Incoterm, really is what they're called. So if you're doing X works directly from your supplier to a warehouse here, if you're doing a FOB or DDP or whatever it may be, you can just select that on the platform itself when you're putting in a request. You select it, and then the system will automatically change to ask you different questions depending on from where and to where it's going. It is very dynamic. With regards to warehousing or post-arrival, we do have warehousing partners, and we do have fulfillment partners and last mile delivery partners. So we actually handle the first mile, which is the movement of goods from your manufacturer or supplier, for example, to your warehouse or fulfillment center in your destination country. That is the first mile. That is what we focus on. But we have partners along the whole chain. Our system is constantly being updated so that we slowly automate the rest of the process. However, it is very important for us to kind of perfect freight. You know what they say, do one thing and do it well. Well, that one thing we're doing is the first mile. We're doing it really well right now. Obviously, definitely a lot of room for perfection. And then we're slowly doing the rest. But if you need warehousing, if you need last mile delivery, we've got a full book of partners, people in the ecosystem, happy to connect you. There's a question on, do you provide cash on delivery? That's not something we would do. We're not the last mile delivery players, but I have someone exactly who can provide cash on delivery, at least in the UAE, and I have someone else in KSA that we're happy to connect you with if need be.
And Adil, I think this is what you're doing is a big pain point for people here. I'm getting queries on whether you have services in Egypt, Turkey. Would you want to throw some light on what your plans are beyond UAE and Saudi in the near future?
Yeah, definitely. So what we do is our focus is very much the trade lanes that import and export for what comes in and out of the UAE and KSA at the moment. The next thing for us is Egypt. So if you're providing, if you need a service to go from Turkey to the UAE or KSA or UAE to KSA to Turkey, then we can do that. However, if you're talking about, something that has nothing to do with UAE and KSA at the moment, like Turkey to the US, then that's not something we can do just yet. Not because we cannot do it. Actually, the tech is built to be able to do that. However, we're in a position where we want to be your best solution for that movement of goods. And I wouldn't yet say that we're the best providers for Turkey to the US or US to Turkey. We're doing very well in UAE and KSA, both in and out. And I think that is a fantastic place for us to be in. The next step is Egypt, and beyond that, the rest of MENA, Turkey, and beyond. So if it's coming in and out of the UAE and KSA, we can do that. And if it's not, then we're not necessarily there yet. If you email me, I'll be happy to let you know when. I can put you on a list so you can get that update.
Okay. So one last question, Adil, on the overall bench. So this is prior to the event. It was best practices of procurement if you were starting your import businesses, or if you're wanting to import something into UAE, what all does one need to check and take care of before they jump into it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the most important thing nowadays when starting a company, especially when you're starting kind of an e-commerce brand or a delivery, anything that requires delivery or actual goods, whether you're a direct-to-consumer brand or a distributor or wholesaler of the sorts, it is very critical that you make strong partnerships. And those partnerships are along the lines of shipping and delivery and warehousing, but very much so as well. The likes of your payments, and Payoneer is really supporting you, can be really supporting in that space. So partnerships along the whole chain are extremely important. I'll talk a little bit about shipping, and then Sheva, maybe if you want to add a little bit how the best, why you should select a partner such as Payoneer when it comes to starting a new business. But when it comes to shipping, first off and foremost, you want to obviously pick someone that's going to find you the most value. By value, I 90% of the time mean cost. 10% of the time, I mean, what's beyond the cost, the service that's provided with it, the solutions that's going to support and complement the people and the relationship and the touch points that are provided. These are all specific things that are part of value, not just the amount of money you can save. Two, when you're new, you don't want to be played by someone. You don't want to be taken advantage by someone. So I would suggest working with someone who can give you kind of a huge number of options. Multi-carrier options is probably the best word. Working with one person, they can almost smell your lack of knowledge in shipping or your lack of network in shipping. And so working with, an independent multi-carrier provider is probably the best thing to get done, at least upfront. And then finally, the last piece, of course, is the support. Who's going to support you when? You can, if you call at 3 a.m. asking about where your shipment is someone going to answer? Probably not, but we'll do our best to call you back when we wake up. So it is, very, very important that you get dedicated support, someone who has the knowledge, who has the experience, and someone who's able to kind of grow and scale with your business. That is the most important things for the early players. And I think, PallePal is there to help you, especially in your early days.
And so perfect, Adil. I think this will give people at least a brief understanding of how to at least jump into it in a more programmatic manner rather than hit and try. Any final comments on the kind of goods that you deal in, or is it across the board? Is it bulk goods also, or just some? throw some light on that things, please.
So the actual commodity of goods, no, it goes across the board. We have someone who ships gym material like weights. We have someone who's shipped nutrition and health supplements, skincare and fashion, and beyond. Just basically a lot for commodities. With regards to the size and how much, we typically only look at freight, and freight is considered to be a minimum of 70 kilos. So if it's below 70 kilos, we will be happy to direct you in a direction that will to someone who can support you. However, I will personally, we're putting ourselves out here by saying that, you can find better value below 70 kilos going somewhere else, since our focus is dominantly 70 kilos and above. For air, that is, for ocean, we do FCL and LCL. LCL is at least 1 pallet. And then for truckloads, we do full truckloads or less than truckload. Again, less than truckload limit or threshold is 1 pallet.
Understood. And so I think, Anil, this really helps out, because there are a lot of people who probably want to move bulk beyond, or they're probably right there at the threshold of 70 kgs, which you're talking about, right? So where probably there's a line between a larger e-commerce player to probably someone who's just starting off in trade. Right?
Absolutely.
So that I think kind of adds to. So for all the people who are listening, please feel free to approach Palletpal for any kind of goods that you have. It's just more based on the freight, less on the type of goods. Cool. Couple of questions on Payoneer that I saw. Can we transfer funds to PayPal? I would strongly urge you not to and keep it with Payoneer. But yes, if you want to, you can. Can you withdraw to your bank account in UAE? Yes, across any bank in UAE. And I think mostly this is around it. Happy to take questions. I'm posting my email here. Please feel free to post your queries. Adil, if you have probably not yours, but any one of your common emails where people can reach out to PalletPal, please feel free to put it here. All right. I think this brings us to the end of our webinar today. If there are more questions for all viewers, you have our emails in the chat box. Please feel free to reach out to us. And before we close the webinar, there'll be a short survey which allows us to understand what we did right or wrong and serve you better in the coming webinars. So please do give us your feedback in the survey. And with that, Adil, thank you so much for joining in and sparing your time.
Thank you.
We look forward to many more such webinars in the coming future. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.